Yeah, so this stems from a childhood question of mine, which I'm sure you and most of the people you know probably asked as well, which is, where do babies come from? But I wanted to extrapolate this further beyond the parents, beyond the grandparents, because when you extend back far enough, the question, where do babies come from, expands to, where does everything come from? And when you extend it far enough back, then, well, our cells are made of materials that were once scattered throughout the environment across our planet, which was born from a cloud of gas that collapsed 4.5 billion years ago in the middle of interstellar space. And that cloud was from a star that blew up even longer ago. And the only elements that were ever formed from the Big Bang were hydrogen and helium, two very, very light gases. Every other element in the universe today couldn't have been formed at the Big Bang, so the only other place it could have been created is in the super hot core of a star. So we are made of much more than hydrogen and helium. Everything around us is far more than hydrogen and helium, and every single bit of that was formed inside a star at various points throughout the cosmos' history. And against all odds, the 10 to the power 50 atoms of our Earth have just coalesced into this singular moment of time. So yeah, something I have talked about is, if you wanted to list the probability of us being here right now in this exact circumstance in this universe, and I went 0.00000, we would have to have this interview for several 100 million years before I listed all of it. And since that's a little longer than I believe we have for airtime, then I will summarize that it is immeasurably low, the odds of any of this happening. Life itself shouldn't be that uncommon throughout the universe, but this life in particular, when you compare it to all the other ones, the odds of getting this specific one is inconceivably low. But we'd probably be saying that if we were anything else too. Yeah, so light can only travel at the speed of light. It is fundamentally the speed limit of the universe, which means you can only receive information at the speed of light, so there's a time delay between when something happens and when you see it. For me and you at the camera right now, it's about 5 billionths of a second, but across the galaxy, it's hundreds of thousands of years. And human civilization has only been around for 12,500 years, which means our presence has only reached 12,500 light years into space because of the speed of light. Which means since our galaxy is 100,000 light years across, 98% of the galaxy has not yet even seen us yet, and our galaxy is one of only 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. So really, we are such newcomers that no one else beyond our galaxy could even have possibly seen us yet. But another thing I like to say is, since we're always emitting light, that light will continue coasting off into space forever. So long after we're gone, after the Earth is gone, after the universe as we've known it is gone, that light will still be out there, coasting through empty space. And if anyone is still around to see it, they'll be able to see little images of us in the distance, preserved perfectly in the past, just an image out there long after we're gone. So that's the sort of thing I like to call light immortality, which is just a nice thought to have in mind for me personally. I think personally wondering it's a very human activity, and I think for me it's what gives us a purpose. For me, I think without wonder, I would see humanity as just continuing for the sake of continuing. A self-sustaining cycle, lovely, but without a purpose. And for me, wonder is that purpose. We are a tiny part of the universe capable of understanding itself and understanding the universe from whence we came, which I think is very powerful. And I think there's so much wonder about the universe that is going on right around us, and it's really easy to miss, but it's really incredible to see the rock beneath us right now. You could deduce the age of the Earth when those rocks were created, and my favorite television channel, as it turns out, is no channel at all, because when you untune a television screen and you get the static, that static is the leftover microwave background radiation from the Big Bang. So when you untune a television screen, you're listening to the first music ever broadcast in the universe 13.8 billion years ago that is still permeating the cosmos to this day. From that, you could take the nihilistic sad approach that nothing we'll ever do matters, or you could take the hopeful approach that seeing ourselves this way could help us deconstruct some of the blind hate that we have formulated for each other on this planet. And it makes me sad to watch nations war over borders that we have just drawn on maps, and it makes me sad to see people discriminated against based on the wavelength of light that the atoms in their skin reflect, which is just messed up to me. But when we see ourselves as a speck, I mean, heck, 400 years ago, we nailed people to wooden poles and set them on fire for suggesting that the Earth was anything but the divine center of everything in existence. But now, with our current understanding of the universe, given how small we are, perhaps it lets us take a step back and see just that we're not so different after all. We share 5 common elements that make up the rest of the universe, 99% of it. So when you see the Earth as just a part of the rest of the universe, and not something that has any sort of privileged protection or purpose against anything else, then that lets us see where we fit in, and perhaps underscores, to quote Carl Sagan, the responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot.